Hey everyone, Dan Ludeman with Ludeman Productions. I am back with another review. Today we are reviewing the Laowa 9mm f2.8 wide angle lens for Sony E-Mount. Now, before we get started, I want to touch on a few things. One, I know it has been a long time since I have been back on camera with another review. There are a few reasons for that. One is the fact that I actually sustained a back injury a while ago. It's actually prevented me from standing for longer than about 5 minutes before I have just crippling pain. Luckily, I'm going in for a procedure that'll fix a lot of these issues, allowing me to get back on camera more frequently to do more reviews for you guys. Another reason is I've finally caught up with wedding season. It took me a while, but finally caught up. And as you guys might know, wedding season is like the backbone financially of my company, so I have to prioritize getting those done. Luckily, I'm all done. So enough with that nonsense. Let's talk about this awesome piece of glass. So the folks over at Laowa were kind enough to send me a lens that hasn't hit the market yet. It is the Laowa 9mm f2.8 wide angle lens for Sony E-Mount cameras. So right off the bat with this lens, a few things. One is you can obviously tell this thing is super small, which is actually really convenient, especially if you're wanting to do like gimbal work, and you're just a travel photographer or videographer and you just don't want to pack those huge bulky wide angle lenses. Another great thing about this lens is the fact that you can attach filters to it. You're not limited by a huge lens hood, sort of like the Rokinon 14mm where you're stuck with just the lens hood provided, and if you want to do any sort of filters, you have to get a matte box, and even that's probably kind of inconvenient to do. It does come with the lens hood to cut down on those flares, and it is detachable, which is super nice. So I've had the pleasure of shooting with this lens over the past few days here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, my hometown. And in those 3 days, we had 57-degree weather, and then like the next day it snowed. So we got a wide variety of shots. So if you've seen this channel before, there's definitely one thing you probably know, and that is that we absolutely love to shoot slow-mo. And for this, we used the lens on my trusty FS5 coupled with the Shogun Inferno. Something really cool I really liked about using this lens is it challenged me compositionally. I actually don't all too often use wide-angle lenses. The only times I really use them is for establishing a shot or if I'm just doing really wide sweeping landscapes. However, after spending the past few days filming with this lens, I will certainly, most definitely be reaching for this lens a lot more often. Another nice thing about shooting a wide angle is it allows you to get some really intimate shots. It kind of brings the viewer closer to what you're looking at because you yourself, as the camera operator, are standing that close to whatever you're filming. So as far as the optics of this lens, I was super impressed. The pros are this. One is it is a very sharp lens, super sharp, even pretty sharp in the corners. Obviously, the lightweight, compact size of this lens is a huge plus for traveling, and just for gimbal work, stuff like that, comes in very handy for that. So something awesome that Laowa included on this lens is something they call frog eye dust and water repellent coating. Now what they mean by that is this is a coating they added to the front glass element, which allows water to just bead off of the lens. This actually came in really handy for me because I was filming my kids splashing in the water, and then I was also filming while there was snow falling. But I'll tell you what, that is some amazing technology that I've never had the luxury of shooting with. Another great pro about this wide angle lens is it's pretty fast for a wide angle, especially given its size. It's an f2.8, so you can still get that fall off and shoot in relatively low light environments, and that goes all the way up to f22, giving you a really wide variety of aperture. So Laowa calls this a 0D lens, which is another huge pro. What they mean by that is there is hardly any lens distortion, which you oftentimes get with wide angle lenses. I know I've suffered with this with some other similar branded lenses, but there is hardly any distortion to be seen in this lens, especially for how wide it is. I mean, 13.5 millimeter full frame equivalent wide angle lens and no distortion, it's really incredible. So a few cons about this lens. One is the fact that it does vignette a little bit around the edges. It gets a little dark here and there. It's pretty easy to clean up in post with a few clicks of Lumetri color. Another thing about this from a video standpoint is if you're planning on taking this lens and doing some rack focusing with it, not that I think you would be with this wide of a lens. However, if you did want to rack focus on the fly, you're gonna have a little hard time doing it because the focus ring on it is pretty stiff. I do think that this lens was primarily designed for photographers in mind, which is nice for photography because you can lock the lens off into infinity and bump your camera all you want and it'll stay there. It will not move. However, for videography work, you might want to be able to do some rack focusing, and that's a little hard to do. Not to say that it's completely unusable, but it does take some getting used to. Another con is the fact that this lens is not electronic, so it won't communicate directly with your camera. However, for videographers like you and myself, this is not a big deal. And even for photographers who are doing landscapes primarily, or just find themselves often in times of needing a super wide angle lens, it makes up for it with a really robust build, amazing optics, super sharp, and hardly any distortion to be seen. So a big thank you to Laowa for sending us over this lens to use. It was an absolute blast to use it. Using a wide angle lens like this really challenged my compositional skills and really kind of took me out of my comfort zone. And I mean that in the best way possible, and challenged me to kind of think a little bit more outside of the box for my shots. So before I bid farewell, I know a lot of you guys are still asking about the GH5 video. I know a lot of you guys are also asking about doing color grade tutorials, but the GH5 review video is coming, I promise. I have not forgotten about it. I've just had a hard time catching up on wedding season, and this back injury has kind of really screwed things up for me. I'm actually bringing it out to NAB here in a few days out in Vegas, and I'll actually be doing my review video for it while I'm out there. I'll also be bringing my Atomos Ninja Inferno, along with some anamorphic lenses, and I can't wait to see what kind of footage we get to show you guys. If you are interested in purchasing the Laowa lens or any other gear that I used in this video, I've included links down in the description. Now, by clicking those links down in the description, it actually goes a long way and helps me a little bit financially just to kind of keep this channel afloat and allows me to keep posting these videos. So please, if you are interested, click away. That would help me out a ton. Thank you guys again so much for watching. If you did like it, don't be afraid to toss me a like or possibly even a sub. And if you're at NAB 2018 this year and you see me, definitely come say hi. I'll be the dude walking around with a limp because I have a bad back. Hopefully I'm not like in a wheelchair or something. Oh my gosh. But definitely come say hi. Thank you guys again for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.